Now at 9, a local election official responds to a new Missouri law that modifies election processes.
The Supreme Court term is over and history is made on the bench. I'm David Spunt in Washington. The story coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan AUBEY. Fire crews in Joplin keeping a close eye on the old Carnegie Library building after battling a fire through much of the day. The first call for the fire was at 5 this morning, 5 a.m. Multiple units arrived, reported seeing smoke coming out of the basement. Authorities declared it under control shortly after 8 this morning, but this afternoon it all rekindled. The library stopped operating that old building in the late 1970s. Authorities say the building has significant damage in the basement, along with fire and smoke damage to the upper 3 floors. There's also water damage to all floors. However, the roof remains intact and the building is apparently sound. There's no word on the cause of the fire just yet. Lawrence County, Missouri man taking an Alford plea after a homicide investigation from 2019. Officials initially charged Matthew ABNEY with several charges, including first-degree murder, first-degree assault, abandonment of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. Well, this stems back to the 2019 death of ABNEY's roommate, Coy Cole. Authorities say ABNEY came into their house and shot Cole several times, leaving his body in a chair in the living room. ABNEY took an Alford plea, which means he maintains his innocence, but admits there is enough evidence to convict him. Most of the charges against ABNEY were dropped, and the first-degree murder charge was changed to second-degree murder. Authorities sentenced ABNEY to 30 years in prison. Well, a new Missouri law is changing the voting process. Some activists say it's voter suppression. Others say it's just accountability. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
Governor Mike Parson has signed the controversial voting bill into law, House Bill 1878. The law, also known as the Election Integrity Bill, will require voters to have a photo ID in order to vote. The law has had mixed reactions since it first appeared on the 2016 ballot.
House Bill 1878 was the election integrity bill that the legislature worked on for several years and finally got it passed this year. And it encompasses so many different things, but the vast majority of it is accountability and reliability of our election systems.
Jasper County Clerk Davis supports the law because he said it holds voters and the election system accountable.
There is nothing in this bill that is going to change the way that Jasper County does our elections or maintains our equipment. Everything that we do, all the equipment we have is already complies with the statute, so it is not going to be intrusive on us at all.
However, opponents of the law believe this is an attack on the right to vote.
In the past, the Missouri voter ID laws have been ruled unconstitutional, so this is an attempt at voter suppression.
Karen sees this bill as another obstacle for Americans who want to vote.
So people need to know that if you want to register more than 10 people, that you've got to register with the Secretary of State before you do that, and it can be a bit tricky because you have to have a fax machine.
In Jasper County, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Among other things, the bill replaces Missouri presidential primaries with caucuses. Some activists in Joplin are once again rallying in support of abortion rights. Joplin for Justice and Julie Joplin Media hosted this rally for reproductive freedom at 7th and Rangeline. Attendees say it's important to show support through these rallies.
We knew that as soon as Roe v. Wade was overturned, we were going to have a lot more people turning out because, frankly, we're angry and we don't want this to happen to people in our state. To where now they are suffering for not having access to their own autonomy.
Before this rally, they had a station for people to make their own signs. The Southeast Kansas and Oklahoma, or SKOL Railroad, today celebrated the beginning of an upgrade project. Southeast Kansas, U.S. Senator from Kansas, Jerry Moran, showed up to speak at today's ribbon cutting in Cherryville. The upgrade is going to allow for bigger and faster trains to be used on the railway. It's being paid for with a $27 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation. It's going to help local railroad companies in the 4-state area as well.
This infrastructure improvement is going to allow for numerous customers to relocate here. It's going to allow us to handle more tonnage. It's going to allow us to be faster in the way we serve customers. It's going to be much safer. It's going to allow for us to redirect investment into our team members so that we can support a more dynamic team to better serve customers.
The construction is expected to be complete by the middle to end of 2023. Well, a family made a heartwarming donation to Mercy Hospital. The family donated a cuddled cot in remembrance of a similar situation they went through. Now, a cuddle cot is a bed that's refrigerated in a way that can preserve the body of a baby who is stillborn. The cot provides a chance for the families to say goodbye and take photos to their loved one. This isn't the first cot the family's organization has donated.
Have our foundation named after them and to be able to donate cuddle cots to hospitals so that families have the opportunity to spend more time with their babies that have passed away just means so much to be able to continue to help Chandler and Paisley's memories live on.
Family provided the cot in honor of the baby they lost, in the hopes that parents who find themselves in the same situation will be able to find comfort in having more time with their baby. Supreme Court has given states the authority to prosecute non-tribal members who commit crimes against Native Americans on Indian territory. The decision limits the 2020 McGirt ruling that determined a large swath of eastern Oklahoma should be considered Indian territory because Congress never de-established the Creek Reservation. The decision is a victory for Republicans who were worried abortion clinics might be set up on that land to circumvent Oklahoma's strict ban. Big day for the U.S. Supreme Court. Associate justices welcomed their newest addition to the bench while also releasing rulings on a few remaining cases. Fox News correspondent David Spunt has the latest from Washington.
I, Ketanji Brown Jackson, do solemnly swear.
History made at the U.S. Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson took the judicial oath and became the first black woman appointed to the nation's highest court.
I am pleased to welcome Justice Jackson to the court and to our common calling.
She replaces Justice Stephen Breyer, and it comes as the court faces intensifying scrutiny. Last Friday, the majority on the court ruled to eliminate the constitutional right to abortion, overturning the precedent set by Roe v. Wade.
The most important thing to be clear about is we have to change, I believe we have to codify Roe v. Wade in the law, and the way to do that is to make sure the Congress votes to do that.
On the final day of the term, the court released rulings on two major cases, one giving the Biden administration the ability to end the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy. Another will curb the EPA's ability to fight climate change.
This is a huge victory for our American system of government. Congress needs to be the decider, not an unelected bureaucracy. That's what today's decision means.
The court is in recess until October. However, the justices agreed to hear a redistricting case next term that could change the way federal elections are conducted. In Washington, David Spunt, Fox News.
KOM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Justin Lero has served the U.S. Army. Native of Iola, Kansas, Lero has been stationed in Afghanistan, earning several awards. We are very proud to thank and salute Sergeant Justin Lero. He's tonight's four-state hero. Mr. Doug Cade is next with a complete look at the forecast. A bit later, Fort Scott High School has a new boys basketball head coach. We have those details in sports. Welcome back. Time now for the weather forecast.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a hot day for us today. At least the humidity still not that bad, but our temperatures definitely climbed and we have really dried out. My yard is crunchy, which it shouldn't be. We're above average on rain. In fact, we're almost 4 inches above where we should be for this time of the year. But for the month, we've only had 2¼ inches. That was in the first week of June, and it's been very scattered since that point in time. So we could use a little bit of rain. We do have chances, unfortunately, on a holiday weekend, but we could use a little bit of rain. All right, look at our highs for us today. Lower 90s. We dropped off a bit over the past couple hours. Upper 70s to lower 80s across the region, but our humidity is still pretty good. We're kind of in that 60 to 65 degree range on the dew points. Puts us in that not bad to kind of sticky range, and those will continue to go up over the next couple days. Looks great outside right now. 81 south winds at 4, actually 6. Humidity at 54%. All right, nothing going on here, but we do have thunderstorms. Parts of Nebraska, north central Kansas, these track into western Kansas, some strong, some low grade severe. These are all going to stay to our north tonight. They're going to track near Kansas City, but it's this system, these little waves kicking out, that will give us some rain chances by the time we head into the holiday weekend. All right, let's go through time. We're going to stop at 6 o'clock in the morning, some clouds due to the storms up north. We start lower 70s. We should be about 90 by noon. As we get into the afternoon, watch these little isolated thunderstorms popping up. Temperatures up there. Here's your day planner starting at 70, 91 by noon. High temp, 96. Light southerly wind. So we are going to have a few isolated storms. Most of you will end up staying dry. Tomorrow night, thunderstorms build out across north central Kansas. These again mainly stay north of the region, but they will surge a little bit farther south, mainly along and north of I-44. This is Saturday morning, so we're going to start the day with some scattered showers and thunderstorms, and then by the afternoon, I also think we'll see isolated thunderstorms popping up. If you're heading to the lakes, Stockton, Table Rock, Beaver, Grand, or to the creeks and streams, you do need to watch for some of those isolated thunderstorms. As we go into Sunday morning, additional thunderstorms again trying to pop up, so we need to watch that as well, and then a few isolated storms as we head into Sunday afternoon. I think most of the 4th is dry still, random storm. But look at those temps getting up there. Highs pushing 100 degrees, 96 tomorrow, 94s over the weekend, 98 Monday. Triple-digit heat moves in next week. Jordan.
All right, thanks, Doug, so much. The driver charged in the deadly human smuggling attempt in Texas appeared in court. This is the Supreme Court handed to the Biden administration a victory concerning border policy. Fox News correspondent Griff Jenkins is near the border in Eagle Pass, Texas.
The man charged with smuggling resulting in the deaths of more than 50 migrants, appearing in court Thursday in San Antonio. 45-year-old Homero Zamorano is the accused driver of the tractor trailer that was packed with dozens of migrants who were trapped in the sweltering heat. Federal prosecutors also charging 28-year-old Christian Martinez with conspiracy, both men facing the possibility of life in prison or even the death penalty if convicted. Texas Governor Greg Abbott continuing to place blame on President Biden.
The way that the Biden administration is not enforcing the immigration laws, it's attracting people and enticing people to make this very dangerous trek.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court ruling in favor of the Biden administration Thursday, giving the green light for the administration to end the Remain in Mexico policy. Under the Trump administration, the policy required migrants to stay in Mexico while judges ruled on their asylum claims.
We need help. We have got to be able to get this under control. If we don't get this under control, we're going to continue to see the chaos. We're going to continue to see deaths.
Migrants continue to cross the border daily despite triple-digit temperatures. In the last 6 days, there have been more than 9,000 encounters just in the Del Rio sector alone, bringing their total for the fiscal year to more than 326,000. After the fatal smuggling attempt, Governor Greg Abbott says the Department of Public Safety will be setting up checkpoints across the state to try to prevent similar tragedies. In Eagle Pass, Texas, Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
Coming up, some possible travel headaches.
Millions of Americans are getting ready to travel this holiday weekend, but it won't be easy. I'm Madla Rivera at Reagan National Airport with some of the challenges they may face coming up.
Combination of MRIs and straight-up genetics may help predict a person's odds of developing Alzheimer's disease. Canadian researchers say an MRI would reveal physical changes in the brain, while genetic testing would indicate how the condition might progress. The study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease suggests these steps would be most beneficial to patients experiencing mild cognitive impairment. If you're planning to travel for the upcoming holiday weekend, just brace yourself, okay? You may run into some headaches. For months now, major airlines have dealt with worker shortage, and lately flight delays are becoming more frequent. If you want to avoid the skies, don't worry, you're still going to have headaches. Higher gas prices, forcing some to just stay home. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera takes a closer look from Reagan National Airport.
Anticipation and anxiety are sky high ahead of the holiday weekend. Thousands of flight cancellations and delays are putting many people's plans in a tailspin.
I got to LaGuardia Airport in New York at 6 in the morning to find out that my 8 o'clock flight was canceled.
There is little hope the problems could ease. Industry experts say uncontrollable factors could easily lead to unexpected changes.
You can't control the weather. Are there staffing issues? Perhaps.
And driving may be no better. In fact, some travelers say they chose to fly, citing it as a cheaper option with gas prices painfully high.
I love to drive, but for a better economical value, the flight's it.
The average price for a gallon of gas did fall for a second week, per the latest figures from AAA. But President Biden says energy prices throughout the world will likely stay elevated, given Russia's war in Ukraine.
Prices at the pump are higher in almost every other country.
Still, critics argue the president should focus on domestic production instead of pointing a finger at President Putin.
You can't have an anti-U.S. energy policy and expect prices to go down.
Senator Bernie Sanders is now urging Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to take action against airlines, including requiring refunds for flight delays and fines for cancellations. At Reagan National Airport, Malda Rivera, Fox News.
Still ahead, a big move for Ukraine.
Ukraine gets a strategic victory as NATO leaders pledge more support. I'm Greg Palcott in London. That's my story. Coming up.
President Biden pledged additional support to Ukraine on the final day of NATO's summit. His comments come as Ukraine sees a strategic victory on the battlefield. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott has more.
A setback for Russia's ambitions in Ukraine. Russian forces withdrawing from Snake Island, a key outpost for controlling shipping lanes in the Black Sea. Moscow claims the move demonstrates that it's not preventing efforts to export grain from Ukrainian ports. But Kyiv is pushing back, saying the withdrawal happened only after an overnight assault by Ukraine's military.
Armed forces of Ukraine will do everything to stabilize the situation so that ships will be able to have safe passage through the territorial waters.
Meanwhile, Russian forces ramped up their attacks on the Donbas region as they try to take control of the Luhansk province. Troops launching more attacks on civilian areas. Speaking at the NATO summit in Madrid, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says Ukraine's Snake Island victory is a sign they can still win this war.
In the end, it will prove impossible for Putin to hold down a country that will not accept his rule.
NATO allies declared Moscow their top threat during this week's discussions. President Biden says the United States plans to send another $800 million in aid to Ukraine. The package will include advanced air defense systems and additional ammunition.
They can continue to resist the Russian aggression. And so I don't know how it's going to end, but it will not end with a Russian defeat of Ukraine in Ukraine.
The UK also plans to send another $1 billion worth of military support to Ukraine. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
Okay, there are a lot of stories surrounding the oldest sports trophy in North America. This one, though, might be in a category all of its own. How the Stanley Cup was delivered to the wrong address next. There's so much history behind the Stanley Cup, so many stories. Add this one to the list, okay? Every player on the Stanley Cup winning team gets to have the cup for a day. It's a good perk. You can take it wherever you want. This year, it's all the players in the Colorado Avalanche team. Now, when it was Avalanche captain Gabriel Landeskog's turn, cup took a detour. It was delivered to a random person in the same neighborhood where Landeskog lives, who has an address that's similar to the Avalanche captain's.
And a fellow comes to the door. He's got long, kind of gray hair, parted, and he's very friendly. Hi, how are you? And I'm like, hi. And he comes right in, and they're looking. The truck is backed up, and they're looking to bring in the trophy. He opened it up all the way and said, "Go ahead." I lifted it up. I couldn't believe how heavy it was. I ran my fingers over the engraving. I knew we had Avalanche players that lived in the neighborhood, but I didn't know how close.
My goodness. Now, although Karbler took a photo of the cup itself, says he wasn't thinking at the time to take a picture of himself with the championship trophy. Come on, man. I can kind of understand that, right? You're caught up in the moment. But how cool would that photo have been, huh? All right, 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. Some local teachers competing for a coveted title, Teacher of the Year. Also, some music enthusiasts got the chance to get some vinyl records in Pittsburgh today. Some area teachers put their skills to the test for the title of Teacher of the Year. The Southwest Center for Educational Excellence hosted the Southwest Missouri Regional Teacher of the Year competition. A dozen local educators took part in the competition, which involved interviews about how they teach.
I feel very thankful for really the opportunity to come here. I would not have been able to do this without first the nomination from my administration, and they've been a great supporter of the things that I'm trying to do in the classroom from the very beginning.
Winners of today's event will move on to compete at the state level, and we thank every teacher. Every teacher is important. Downstream Casino today hosted a celebration for indigenous culture. The casino partnered with Quapaw Nation to commemorate the tribe's 150th anniversary powwow with the From the Res and Beyond Festival. It's one of the largest celebrations in the country for indigenous culture. The festival included art and music with headlining acts by Hulusai Nation, formerly known as a tribe called Red.
Everybody's smiling out here. There's a lot of cool people hanging out with nice cameras, taking awesome pictures of our people doing amazing things, because we should all be doing that, lifting each other up.
Other acts included Native American hip-hop artist DJ Superman, longtime blues rock band Indigenous, and the Grammy-winning drum group Northern Cree. Well, vinyl records back in style. Folks in Pittsburgh today had a chance to pick some up. A company called the Ampersand of Vinyl teamed up with Jolly Fox Brewery for a pop-up shop. Officials say they had more than 1,000 records available, spanning many genres.
I gotta go with vinyl though. It's the choice that it's just better to the enjoyment of it. To sit down, put a record on, to listen through the entire thing. You end up hearing songs like you wouldn't have heard on digital because you would have skipped over them or moved on.
The Ampersand of Vinyl is based in Ottawa, Kansas, but hosts pop-up shops around the Midwest. The U.S. government wants Google and Apple to remove TikTok from their app stores. In their request, the FCC cited a BuzzFeed report that accuses TikTok parent company ByteDance of accessing user data. ByteDance is Chinese-owned, which is put in the crosshairs of federal officials for years now. Neither Google nor Apple have commented on the matter. They would have to voluntarily comply with the request since the FCC has no jurisdiction over internet-based services. A new study shows most U.S. hospitals, most of them, are not complying with the new federal law that requires them to post their prices for common procedures and services. The study in the Journal of the American Medical Association shows more than half of U.S. hospitals aren't complying with the law, and they aren't being held accountable either. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has issued more than 350 warnings to hospitals, but only 2 have been fined. Many pro-life supporters are calling the overturning of Roe v. Wade a victory, but pro-choice advocates are holding on to hope that women in states where abortions are banned will still be able to access medication to terminate those unwanted pregnancies. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork reports.
The Department of Health and Human Services promising to help protect patient privacy and access to medication abortion after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade last week.
Federal law requires our programs to provide medication abortion in certain circumstances, such as the life of the woman, rape, or incest. It is imperative that all federally supported programs and services are complying with the law.
More than half of all abortions in the U.S. are now done with pills instead of surgery, with medication abortion approved by the FDA as safe and effective.
1 in 5 people who can have a child will have an abortion.
And with many abortion pills prescribed online via telemedicine and sent to patients in the mail, even across state lines, some pro-choice advocates are mildly optimistic. Women in states where abortions are banned or severely restricted will still be able to get the pills. But Republican lawmakers in states like South Dakota, Texas, Kentucky, and more are trying to bar access.
Don't kill your baby!
And fears over possible reduced availability of emergency contraception products is putting them in high demand, forcing retailers like Amazon and Rite Aid to enforce limits on how many people can buy. Meanwhile, the abortion battle is intensifying online, with Instagram and Facebook now removing some social media posts pertaining to abortion pills and how to obtain them. I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
A bit later, the catch-22 of combating chip shortages.
A new massive semiconductor plant is promising economic progress for the country, but at what cost? I'm Ashley Strohmeyer with details coming up.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a hot day for us today. At least the humidity still not that bad, but our temperatures definitely climbed and we have really dried out. My yard is crunchy, which it shouldn't be. We're above average on rain. In fact, we're almost 4 inches above where we should be for this time of the year. But for the month, we've only had 2¼ inches. That was in the first week of June, and it's been very scattered since that point in time. So we could use a little bit of rain. We do have chances, unfortunately, on a holiday weekend, but we could use a little bit of rain. All right, look at our highs for us today. Lower 90s. We dropped off a bit over the past couple hours. Upper 70s to lower 80s across the region, but our humidity is still pretty good. We're kind of in that 60 to 65 degree range on the dew points. Puts us in that not bad to kind of sticky range, and those will continue to go up over the next couple days. Looks great outside right now. 81 south winds at 4, actually 6. Humidity at 54%. All right, nothing going on here, but we do have thunderstorms. Parts of Nebraska, north central Kansas, these track into western Kansas, some strong, some low grade severe. These are all going to stay to our north tonight. They're going to track near Kansas City, but it's this system, these little waves kicking out, that will give us some rain chances by the time we head into the holiday weekend. All right, let's go through time. We're going to stop at 6 o'clock in the morning, some clouds due to the storms up north. We start lower 70s. We should be about 90 by noon. As we get into the afternoon, watch these little isolated thunderstorms popping up. Temperatures up there. Here's your day planner starting at 70, 91 by noon. High temp, 96. Light southerly wind. So we are going to have a few isolated storms. Most of you will end up staying dry. Tomorrow night, thunderstorms build out across north central Kansas. These again mainly stay north of the region, but they will surge a little bit farther south, mainly along and north of I-44. This is Saturday morning, so we're going to start the day with some scattered showers and thunderstorms, and then by the afternoon, I also think we'll see isolated thunderstorms popping up. If you're heading to the lakes, Stockton, Table Rock, Beaver, Grand, or to the creeks and streams, you do need to watch for some of those isolated thunderstorms. As we go into Sunday morning, additional thunderstorms again trying to pop up, so we need to watch that as well, and then a few isolated storms as we head into Sunday afternoon. I think most of the 4th is dry still, random storm. But look at those temps getting up there. Highs pushing 100 degrees, 96 tomorrow, 94s over the weekend, 98 Monday. Triple digit heat moves in next week. Jordan.
Doug, thanks again. All right, this summer heat may be a huge cause for sweating, but so is exercise. Some good exercise. Miami Public Library took to Rotary Park for a free exercise event for kids. Kids Fitness Frenzy Days event was for kids ages 8 to 12. Activities included an obstacle course, water balloons, yeah, that's my thing, hula hoops, we saw that earlier, right? Maybe the best part, a healthy snack demonstration.
I think getting kids that usually are inside playing video games to come out here is really just these events, showing them that it's fun and they can come out here, have a good time instead of just staying inside and being all cold.
I play with water balloons and I stayed up 5 minutes for a plank.
Hudson, man, yeah, water balloons are awesome. The event ran from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Coming up in sports, the Joplin Outlaws return home after an 8-game road trip, plus big changes coming for Division I college football. I don't know if I like this or not. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
The Joplin Outlaws are back home tonight after 8 straight games on the road. The Outlaws went 4-4 on the road trip to remain in first place in the Mink League South Division. And Joplin hits the field against the Sedalia Bombers this evening at Joe Becker Stadium. The Outlaws are 1-0 so far this season against Sedalia. Tonight's game, though, is in the top of the 9th. Outlaws trail at 3-1. Sam Fagan has the lone RBI of the night for Joplin. Fort Scott High School has a new boys basketball head coach. Former Parsons head coach Mike Krull will take over the Tigers program this season. Now, Krull heads to Fort Scott with 28 years of coaching experience between Lewisburg, Frankfort, the great town of Yates Center, and most recently Parsons. Coached for both the girls and boys programs at different times from 2002 to 2019. But now, after a couple years away from the game, Kroll is ready to jump back into it at Fort Scott.
People would ask me if I missed it. I always said, well, if I missed it, I would have never gotten out of it. But, I talked to Coach Del Torre when that job opened, it's sort of like you just said, the fire sort of came back, and it came back even stronger over the summer. And I never thought, May the 20th that I'd be sitting here talking about being the head basketball coach at Fort Scott High School. But I'm sort of anxious and really eager to get going.
You can check out our full story with Coach Kroll on the sports page at KOAMNewsNow.com. Today's the opening day of NBA free agency, but one of the biggest names in the league may be on the move via trade. Kevin Durant has requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets today after 3 years with the team. Now, the Phoenix Suns and Miami Heat are reportedly on the short list of teams Durant would like to be traded to. He's a two-time NBA champ, a two-time Finals MVP, and a 12-time NBA All-Star. But for Durant, it hasn't really worked in Brooklyn. They won just one playoff series in his time there, and this season they got knocked out, swept actually by the Boston Celtics in the first round. Finally, big college football news today. The Big Ten has accepted USC and UCLA's applications to join the conference. The vote was tonight, and it was unanimous to welcome the two schools into the league. It doesn't really make sense geographically, but everybody's going to make a lot of money, so whatever. The two schools will begin competing in the Big Ten in 2024. This is the second big change-up in conference alignment in the last year, with Oklahoma and Texas departing the Big 12 for the SEC. And that's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
Airbnb slamming the door on house parties with a permanent ban. The company says people who violate this rule could either be suspended or removed outright from the platform. A temporary ban on parties went into effect shortly after the start of the pandemic to stop the spread of COVID. There had also been reports of customers holding unauthorized parties in the homes they rented through the platform. The pandemic contributed to a semiconductor chip shortage, making many everyday products harder to find and more expensive. Everyday products, as we experienced. Well, now to help prevent a similar crisis from happening again in the future, Intel is preparing to create a multi-billion-dollar chip plant in Ohio. But, as Fox News correspondent Ashley Strohmeyer learns, it's coming at a cost to people who already live in the area.
Before the pandemic, semiconductor chips may have never crossed your mind, but they're key to powering cell phones, computers, cars, and other objects you probably use every day. But as COVID-19 restrictions began upending the plants that manufacture them, it created a chip shortage, resulting in fewer electronics in vehicles being made and sending prices through the roof. Now, to help prevent another shortage from plaguing the country, Intel is preparing to build a massive $20 billion semiconductor manufacturing center in Ohio on land that President Biden says is perfect for the project.
20 miles east of Columbus, Ohio, you'll find 1,000 empty acres of land.
But while it's very rural,
you can see it's not vacant land.
The land in Johnstown, Ohio that Intel wants to build on is inhabited by Tressie Corsi and more than 50 other homeowners.
The guy came out and talked to us, and I said, no, I'm not selling my home. And then he said, well, there'll be factories all around you.
Officials at Intel say everyone, including Corsi, was bought out and not forcibly removed from their land, with holding companies offering them more money than the market value of their property. And while the Intel project is expected to create more than 3,000 full-time jobs in the area, many are sad the progress is coming at their expense. Intel's chip plant is expected to be completed by 2025, but the company's CEO says plans may be delayed, citing Congress's inability to pass the CHIPS Act, which would provide important subsidies. Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
Coming up, going to wrap up the night. Check out what's playing in those movie theaters and available to at-home streaming options. The Minions returning to theaters and the Hawkins Friends back on streaming. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with a look at this week's new releases.
Good night.
Yes, good night.
Those little yellow stars of the big screen are back in the new family-friendly option at the theater, Minions: The Rise of Gru. The Despicable Me franchise installment is set in the 1970s, with Steve Carell returning to voice a young Gru as he gets his origin story.
Mr. Malcolm, there's someone I want to introduce you to.
The 19th century set romance novel Mr. Malcolm's List gets an adaptation on screens nationwide, with its tale of a woman jilted by London's most eligible bachelor who devises a plan to have her friend pretend to be his ideal match.
I'm not a piece of property to be traded.
Streaming on Hulu is the action fantasy The Princess. Joey King plays a princess who refuses to wed a cruel sociopath she's betrothed to and gets locked in a castle. With her suitor determined to steal the throne, she fights to save the kingdom. Prime Video adds the book-to-screen action series The Terminal List. Chris Pratt leads as James Reese, returning home after his Navy SEALs platoon is ambushed to discover new forces working against him.
Your friends are not prepared for this fight.
And on Netflix, it's Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2, with Vecna now revealed, 11 powered up, and the Hawkins friends out to turn things around on the Upside Down. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Those kids are pretty much grown up now. That's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you tonight with video of a baby giraffe at a zoo in Chile. And be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.